This trading post on the Santa Fe Trail was once the only building seen for hundreds of miles in any direction. American travelers from the east, traders from Mexico, and Native Americans gathered at this Adobe castle on the Great Plains to exchange their goods. As one of the few places along the trail to let your guard down, this structure would also leave a lasting cultural impact on our country. But what about the beaverhead? I will discover what life was like in the 1800s at this bustling trading post and cook some of the recipes that kept travelers nourished along their 900-mile journey. All this for a taste of history.
Welcome, Chef. It's so good to have you here at Bensold Fort.
I cannot describe the beauty of this place. Wherever I look is another spectacular moment. You just want to capture it all.
Absolutely.
So tell me what you do here.
Yes, so I am a seasonal park ranger here at Bensold Fort in the interpretation department. So we are a national park site, but we do things a little bit differently. These are my everyday work clothes and not the traditional parks uniform. It really allows visitors to really interact with the history. So I started learning this kind of cooking, like the hearth cooking we're going to do today, actually in New England at Old Sturbridge Village. So I'll be kind of showing you some of the hearth cooking that I've been doing here at Bent's Fort, but it's going to have perhaps a little bit of a New England slant, since that's the food tradition that I have learned in a historical setting here. Chef, I am really excited to show you our buffalo tongue, prickly pear cactus, some baked beans, and tortillas. Some of the foods that I've been researching that would have been here at Bent's Fort in the 1830s and 40s.
Sounds fantastic, I can hardly wait. And I love tongue, so when you picked the tongue recipe, you made my day.
Well, good, good. I'm glad you love it.
Now, the same cannot be said for our accompaniment, because that I'm not familiar with, you know?
Yeah, we will be cooking with some prickly pear cactus here. These ones have had the prickly parts removed, those spines removed, so it's safe to handle. And it's a very common green that you would have found here in this area, used by many, many different cultures, from the indigenous peoples here to Mexican settlers, and of course the Americans who were here at Bent's Fort. Thanks to trade, which is happening, of course, here at Bent's Fort, we have access to spices to add some flavor to our local foods. So you'll see a really good mix of both indigenous foods that are native to the area, like our cactus and our bison, and then foods that are coming from all over the world.
You might want to show me, because like I have no idea how those grow and what you do to them. I do know that they take a lot of work.
Why don't I take you outside and I can show you how readily available this plant is around Bent's Fort. We have it growing on our corral wall.
I can't wait to see it. I've never seen this before. At first I thought it was a melon, but obviously I'm wrong.
Yeah, a lot of people are surprised by these. They're called buffalo gourds, and they're really common here in southern Colorado. They kind of appear all over the place. They grow a lot around the fort here.
You harvesting my dessert?
I don't know if you'll like this as dessert. I've heard that these taste kind of soapy.
So this is the size they grow. They don't get any bigger than that, right? Is this the size?
I believe so.
They look kind of unique. I'm sure that you let them dry, you can make most likely a spoon out of it or something, because it's like a gourd, so
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
You could dry them out if you wanted to.
Yeah. A little cup for the tequila. There you go. There you go, there's my tequila cup. But I know we're here to harvest the cactus that we're going to use on our bison tongue recipe today.
Yeah.
Ellen, that is actually very beautiful.
It's quite beautiful. It's also like a natural barbed wire fence. It keeps anybody out of your corrals.
I don't think you want to climb over those real easily.
No.
Tell me how you go about it. So you obviously, I see you have a pair of scissors in there or pliers.
Yeah, I believe these are used for hot coals, but I find they work really well for handling cacti.
Okay.
And then I've got a good sharp knife here. I'm just going to choose a couple of these on the wall. That one will be good to dress up our table too.
Perfect.
So, have to be careful here that you don't poke yourself.
What happens if you get poked, besides hurting?
Try not to cry too much, I guess. Just pull the stickers out if they do poke you.
Look at that.
Aren't they?
I guess we have enough, huh?
I think so.
Established in the early 1820s, the Santa Fe Trail was an international commercial highway between the United States and Mexico that would provide great profit for anyone daring enough to traverse it. Traveling along the northern mountain route meant greater distance and unforgiving terrain. However, it would become favored by many westward pioneers due to its reliable access to water and minimal threat from native tribes in the region. This trek along the Arkansas River through present-day Colorado would eventually lead to Bent's Fort, one of the Santa Fe Trail's most significant outposts.
If you're coming over the Santa Fe Trail in 1830 or 40, this is your first structure that you will see coming west from the head of the trail. This is a massive structure. Your first stop in 600 miles, the first place where you can kind of take it easy, let your guard down a little bit. If you need wagon repairs, you can get that done here. If you need any sort of supplies, more livestock, anything like that, you can get that here. There are no other options.
Brothers William and Charles Bent were two of the earliest pioneer fur traders and would find success on their journeys along the Western Trail. Over the years, William grew strong trade relations with the Northern Cheyenne tribes, and Charles, along with his business partner, Saran St. Vrain, saw incredible profit and returns on their early investments. In 1833, the businessmen quickly saw a need to establish a permanent headquarters to trade their goods and oversaw the construction of this large adobe fort on the north bank of the Arkansas River.
Here at Bent's Fort, you're on an international border, actually multiple international borders, because you've got the Arkansas River that flows around here. On the other side of that was Mexico, but then also with the different Native American tribes, the Arkansas was pretty much the northern boundary of Comancheria, where the Comanches were. The Kiowas on the south side of the river, the Plains Apache, the Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho. So you've got all these different groups here. So you've got a lot of Mexican laborers that work here at the fort. There's a lot of French Canadians involved with the fur trade. One of the clerks that worked here said you could walk into this plaza and it sounded like Babel. You could hear all these different languages being spoken, all this revelry going on. One of my colleagues likes to say that this isn't the Wild Wild West, this is just the Wild West. There were very few places where you could let your guard down enough to have a celebration of that point. Certainly no other place between here and the start of the trail at Westport.
This site would quickly become one of the most pivotal trade centers of the West and the chief point of contact and cultural transmission between the United States, Mexico, and natives of the Southern Plains.
So Chef, we have some tongue that's been boiling on our fire for a couple of hours. It should be cooked by now. I'd love for you to check on it and see how it's doing.
Ellen, I consider myself an expert on tongue. I have cooked any sort of tongue that you can possibly imagine, so I can hardly wait. How do you know when the tongue is done, right? You'll be able to pierce the top like this. So when the two fingers come together, it means the tongue is ready. I'm gonna lay it there, let it cool off just a little bit, because if it gets cold completely, the only way you get to peel it is with a knife, and then it ruins the look of the tongue. And again, this is obviously super, super hot.
Comes off quite easily when it's still warm.
Warmer is better. And then the other thing, what I recommend usually for myself, even before I'm completely done with cooking it, I cut a piece off to try to get the flavor of it. So you want to try a piece of that?
Sure.
And I try a piece. And it's so perfectly cooked.
I agree.
Perfect. Oh. So now I do the rest of that here. Sometimes you will trim this part down a little bit because this is where the tongue is attached to the rest of the animal. This one you wouldn't never disregard. You chop it up and throw it in the soup, so you wouldn't throw it out. But now, tell me, how do you want the slices to be done? You want me to cut like so?
Yeah, I think that would work.
Like slices like that?
Yes.
And then just put it on here until you get
Perfect.
ready.
And we'll fry it with some seasonings to make it really nice.
Just make sure, don't count those slices because you're going to lose it. You're going to lose one or two more by the time I'm done with it.
That's okay if there's some that disappear in the process. We have plenty.
Look at that, how beautiful. Oh gosh.
So now it's time to cut up our beautiful looking cactus. We're going to take a couple of these here that have had their spines taken out. So with this one, I might just do something like that. It cuts very easily, which is nice. At least these pieces do.
You sharpened the knives very good, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Got you.
So you can see that these slices here have a lot of liquid in them. And I've read that Cheyenne warriors, when they were out on expeditions, they would use the prickly pear cactus here as a source of water. Makes a lot of sense. This is something that you can eat raw.
And they're actually pretty delicious.
Right, yeah, it's delicious just by itself, raw. So long as you have all those spines removed, of course.
That's very refreshing, actually.
Right?
I didn't figure. Very, very good.
So let's add a little bit of lard to our kettle here, and we'll get our buffalo tongue frying with some seasonings. All right, we'll use a lot of lard then.
There you go. Because I see the lard and I see the bacon grease, and you got it perfect already.
Add some more flavor to it.
Perfect. Wherever you look around here, I see garlic hanging everywhere. Have you noticed that? So you won't need much for that because you wouldn't want to overpower the beautiful flavor of the tongue.
Yes.
This clove of garlic, just so you know, traveled with me for quite some time. I was thinking about your recipe, and this is from Springfield, Missouri, from a community garden. I'm not kidding you. And the only thing we wanted to do, once you get some heat in there, don't burn it.
So this garlic really has traveled the Santa Fe Trail.
Yeah, I didn't have a horse at the time, you know, obviously, so I went by car because otherwise, if I would have come by stagecoach or by horse, this garlic would already be sprouting.
Most likely, yes.
It smells so good. Yep. A little back on the fire, a little bit of heat.
The nice thing about this crane is that it swings out, so we don't always have to be reaching way back into our hearth.
Absolutely perfect. It's awesome. And then the tongue, you can just throw it all in. You don't have to do it piece by piece.
Great addition with that fresh garlic there.
Big time. Oh. Here you go. Salt, madam.
Thank you.
Pepper.
Let's use some of that red pepper there as well.
Yeah, that's good flavor. Don't be shy. Put a little bit more in there. I love it. Yeah.
That's my favorite part of it too.
Mine too. And then the same seasoned pan with the fat will then be used to cook the cactus. Makes sense.
Yes, yes. That's usually why I'll fry the tongue in the pan like this first and then have that cactus second, since it'll take up all these flavors.
All right, let me see here.
Yeah, give that a taste.
Oh, God. Give it up. You don't get better than that. How long would you let it simmer? Just until it's wilted?
I usually prefer things kind of fried and a little crispy too, but
Depends how you like it, since you can actually eat it completely like we just did.
just by itself.
And then we just need a nice platter where we present it and done.
Yes. plate them up with our buffalo tongue, give it a
Yep.
nice presentation.
I got the beautiful drippings. Beautiful.
Looks great.
By the way, this tongue is also 100% grass-fed. There's no byproducts, no nothing in there, so it is as healthy as you can possibly get.
Yep. Healthy foods, and they're all ones that are native to right outside our doorstep here at the
Yeah.
fort.
Try it, please. It's really, really has a unique flavor to it. And also reminds me a lot of okra, seriously though. It's very, very simple, little ingredients, just what I like. Less is always better, but it's beautiful, isn't it? What do you think?
I agree, and it tastes just as good as it looks.
When they decided to build the fort, we're kind of in a unique area here. You see all these beautiful cottonwood trees that we have here today. They may have had trees like that at the start, but you know, you're using firewood, any kind of wood repair you need. Pretty quick, those are gonna disappear. So the main thing they're gonna use is Adobe, and we're probably a couple hundred miles north of where Adobe's in its prime, but that's what they have at hand, dirt, mud, and grass, and you sunbake the bricks and build them all up, and that's what you get. So the people that know how to use that are living south of us in what was then Mexico. So they actually bring a number of people up from there, and they're the ones that work and build the fort. And then once the fort's done, they kind of pick and choose who they thought were the best workers and hire them on full time to keep the repairs up. Because every time the wind blows, every time it rains, it erodes away, and you constantly have to repair it. Bent's Old Fort, their main focus here is going to be trading buffalo robes. These are all fully tanned and finished robes brought in by the tribes themselves. That's about a 10-day process to finish one single buffalo robe, but some years they're shipping as many as 15,000 of those back east. They're trading things from almost every continent in the world. You've got cloth from Britain, you've got jewelry from what's now Germany, tea from China, you've got guns from Britain and the eastern United States, coffee from South America. Really anything you need is going to be available here from all over the world. So this place is tied into not just some little speck in what becomes Colorado, but really a worldwide economy. A lot of the interpreters that worked here know around 10 or 12 different languages because you need to know all of those in order to make the company money.
Guys, look what I got here, a very special book. What do you think? I don't know what you're going to give me for it.
What are you in the market for?
But what about a beaver hat?
Beaver hats are kind of expensive.
I mean, and this guy Staib wrote this book. I mean, look at this recipe dates back to 1773.
What kind of? Oh, right there. That's braised sausages. I think would do good on that. Do you think it'll fit?
Well, let's see here.
Oh,
it's
geez,
perfect
fit. Can't do any
But
better
I'll tell
than
you what,
that.
you're not going to get it off my head. No. Well, thanks.
Good trade.
You guys are great to trade with. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
This place is awesome.
Well, Chef, I'm really excited to show you this next set of recipes here. We're going to make some tortillas, and I'll talk a little bit about some baked beans that I've made. In the time of Bent's Fort, Mexico was literally just across the Arkansas River that flows right behind us, among many other indigenous tribes. So the first part of our tortillas is we're just going to take our clean bowl here. We have some nice flour. I'll probably put, let's say, a scoop and a half in there. And then we'll do just a little bit of salt.
Salt.
And we'll give it a quick stir to mix the flour and the salt around. You don't need a spoon, you can just use your hands, of course. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of warm water here.
Lukewarm water is preferred because it wakes up the gluten in the flour, which is what you need to bind the masa. So all you have right now is flour, salt, water.
And I'm just adding the water in little bits at a time.
You're trying to get the elasticity out of the flour. Got you.
And I think we'll let that sit for just a minute. We'll just take a little bit of our lard. Also not an exact science here, I'll just take a little scoop in my fingers and then add it into the dough.
So the lard will prevent you from sticking.
And I personally think that it adds a nice flavor as well. Just kind of knead it in like that. And then we can let it sit in the bowl for another minute while we get our cutting board ready. Might just take a little bit into my hand there so I can put some on the board so it doesn't stick. I kind of like to distribute it like that so it doesn't
Gotcha.
get stuck in one place. And put a little flour on the rolling pin as well. So while this dough rests for just a second longer, I'm going to set up our trivet and our comal to cook the tortillas. So I'll set this right over here, nice and centered. And then I'll put our comal right on top to start heating up. We'll let that heat and I'll show you how I can roll out some of the tortillas now. So I usually keep it in one big ball like this, but depending on how large I want the
portion it
tortillas,
up,
just
yeah.
break it off like that. And then roll this into as round of a ball as I can, and then start to flatten it just a little bit. So that's usually pretty good. That's flat enough, and then our rolling pin will do the rest for us. So I'll just roll towards and away and give it a turn, roll away and then back towards myself. Probably flip it over too so it doesn't start sticking to the board.
Perfect.
And you want them rolled out fairly thin.
Well, you can control the thickness. Some people like it thicker, some people like it thinner. That's the time when you make a decision.
Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty good size there.
Take it over to the comal.
Yep. Give it a good slap. And you can see it starts cooking right away. My grandma grew up on a ranch just outside of Pueblo, Colorado, which is an hour west of here at Bent's Fort. So her parents, my great-grandparents, came from Mexico a little over 100 years ago. And so my grandma always tells stories about her mom making tortillas every single day,
Great.
the way that she did in Chihuahua. So now I can pass on that knowledge to somebody else.
And it's part of your heritage.
It
There you
is,
go.
yep. And once those edges are done enough, we can turn it over. It goes pretty quick. We'll want to kind of tuck it in underneath the towels there to keep it warm and so it doesn't dry out. And then you just repeat the process. So one other really common food you might have seen at the fort here and a staple of Mexican cooking, of course, is beans. I fired our horno, which means that I just had quite a large fire going inside this beehive-looking oven for a couple of hours, and that heats up the adobe. And then you'll clean out all of the hot coals after a while, and the adobe stays hot, so it allows you to then bake things like pies or breads. And eventually, once those things are done baking, you can then put in something like a pot of beans. And that can sit there all night long while the rest of the heat that's still stuck in the adobe cooks these beans. So we can serve those up here with the tortillas as a nice little side.
Beautiful.
Quite easy to make too.
Ellen, your beans were fantastic. The tortillas out of this world. So simple, so quick, so easy, but yet so authentic.
Thank
Fits
you.
right in here where we are today.
I think so too.
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to let me come into this beautiful kitchen of yours in this fantastic, fantastic fort. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's like, I'm not sure I'm going to leave anytime soon. I might be hanging around here for a while. Do you need an interpretive guy that knows how to cook tongue? I'm yours.
Well, we've got plenty more buffalo tongue to cook and to eat, so.
Yeah. So all this for a taste of history.